The Drive.
Elmore deep, left side, brilliant, good! From 30 feet, John Elmore!
The Drive with Paul Swann.
We're coming to you today from the Union Pub and Grill. Welcome, and it's The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Coming up this hour, going to hear from CJ Harvey from Channel 8. We're going to talk about the green-white scrimmage that took place this Saturday. And, of course, we'll take your phone calls as well. 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Also, you can be a part of the program by texting 304-399-8255. So, why are we here at the Union Pub and Grill? Every Monday we're here, and of course, it's Monday night. That means $1.50 bottles. You got $2 call shots all day, all night. So come on in to the Union Pub and Grill to take advantage of those specials. So we're going to hear from Doc Holliday in a few minutes. We got some player reaction from earlier this weekend. The green-white scrimmage, of course, it's finally over. That means now Marshall's coaching staff, for the most part, on the road trying to recruit and do other things. It never stops. But it was an interesting day. The fountain ceremony. Now, Reggie Oliver was the keynote speaker for the fountain ceremony. This is the ceremony to turn the fountain on. And I debated playing this for you today, but we don't have 47 minutes to give to this thing. And Reggie was in a nice white suit. He was in a good frame of mind, talking about a lot of things as far as they were the freshman entertainment. That's a great story there. And I'm going to post this audio somewhere later on. I'll try to get this posted somewhere for you if you haven't heard it. But even talks about Don Nehlen making fun of the AstroTurf at Fairfield Stadium and how they beat his team back in '71, the Young Thundering Herd. So really it was a great day for Herd fans. If you're a fan of Reggie Oliver and you love hearing his stories, he gave you everything you possibly could want and then some. But the game itself, now again, scrimmage, this is just a practice. Whatever happened on Saturday doesn't mean this is going to be the end result come start of season. Keep that in mind. And it's a format basically that it's not a game. If it was, say, televised like it was, like games were across the country, it might follow more of a game format, but not necessarily a game format here. So we caught up with Doc Holliday afterwards. Just give you his thoughts on what he felt he got out of this. So here's Doc Holliday from Saturday after the game was over.
Isaiah threw some nice balls.
He did.
The whole game, pretty much.
Very consistent. Things like the game slows down for him, which is good, and that's good at the quarterback position. So, those guys both have done some good things this spring. So we'll add Alex to the mix here in a couple of weeks, and there'll be some good competition here in the fall.
I know that offensively, they had a pretty good couple-week run whenever y'all went into the live periods, but it seemed like the defense sort of took that on the chin and came back with a strong day today as well.
Well, there's no. I thought the effort was tremendous. Spring games are changing around the country. I know Coach Meyer at Ohio State, they thudded their spring game. I talked to Boston College. Jackson White's dad's a coach at Boston College. They thudded their spring scrimmage too because of roster numbers and trying to get the manage your roster getting into fall camp. So it's changed a little bit, but I liked our format today. I thought the guys got to run around a little bit and some young players got to play.
Tight showed some good skill out there too.
They have for the most part this spring. All four of those guys, a lot of them, they bring a lot of different things to the table, and they're all four going to be good players for us.
Gaines seemed to be moving pretty well.
Mm-hmm. He's made tremendous strides this spring and learning the position. Todd's done a nice job with him, and he's a guy that's given us some of the same kind of guys we've had here in the past with the Gator Hoskins and Fronopples and Urachek and some athletic guys out there in space. Xavier brings that kind of athleticism to the table.
A lot of people
think happy with the spring, just overall.
Yeah, overall. Critical thing was I wanted to get out of here and these guys come back here in 2 weeks ready to go, and they're all healthy. That was a good thing. So I think we got out here for the most part healthy, which was one of the goals, and come back and get ready for that third phase, which is the summer conditioning, and we got to go back to work.
A lot of people think that this is the end of it for a couple months, but you all hit the road basically tomorrow, don't you?
Coaches are all gone. They'll all hit the road tomorrow and get in place to where recruiting starts. So about a 4-week recruiting period. The kids will actually once they finish up finals this coming week and intercession classes and that type of thing, then they'll have a couple weeks to kind of catch their breath a little bit before we get into that next stretch, which, of course, are summer workouts.
All right, that was Doc Holliday. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll come back, and joining us on the program will be C.J. Harvey from Channel 8. We'll get his thoughts about what happened at the Green-White scrimmage. Also, later on, we'll take your phone calls. We're live at the Union Pub and Grill today, where it's $1.50 bottles, $2 call shots here on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Don't worry. Paul Swann has the wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're at 1125 4th Avenue in Huntington, the Union Pub and Grill. Don't forget, it's Monday. That means $1.50 bottles, $2 call shots all day, all night here at the Union Pub and Grill. Welcome back to The Drive. I'm your host, Paul Swann, and it's time for him to make his radio debut from Channel 8. He was there at the Green-White scrimmage, and, of course, he's been at practice all season long. It's C.J. Harvey joining us now on the program. This is like your first appearance on this show, isn't it, C.J.?
Yeah, definitely, Paul, and thanks for having me on. And, love listening to what you do, and, thanks again for finally including me on your guest list here.
I like that. Yeah, you start the program, you're complimentary of the host. I like that. This is good. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
I like that. Mark Martin has taught you well.
Well, Mark is absolutely two of the best guys in the sports biz, and yeah, they have definitely taught me some manners, I'll tell you that.
I like it. So let's get down to business here. Saturday was the Green-White scrimmage, not your traditional game format. Instead, it was more of a pseudo game. Still, we had a lot of good things happen for the Thundering Herd. What's your overall impression of what you saw from the scrimmage and just in practice in general the entire time it was going on?
And I thought the setup of the scrimmage was actually kind of cool. Kind of the way Josh Lewis had put it, kind of like a glorified practice almost, right? You're just kind of inviting people in and selling some stuff in the stands almost. But I kind of like the overall scheme. It gave coaches and kids, time to go at it full speed and then kind of take a step back, do some individual drills, and kind of think about what they just done on the field. So I kind of like the setup with the way that they've done it. But, the big question, obviously, this offseason is going to be who is filling that quarterback position, post Chase Litton. And so far you've got 3 kids on campus. Of course, we know that there's a 4th making, on his way. But from what I've seen, the 3 guys have really competed all off season, and credit goes to Isaiah Green. He really delivered some nice balls on his first pass attempt in the game yesterday. It goes for a long touchdown to Marcel Williams. So, you like what you see out of him, and the coaching staff had said it afterwards. Any kind of competition is good come spring, and especially in the. My overall takeaway was that these kids are not worried about losing their quarterback. There are plenty of skill guys around the ball to make plenty of big plays down the field, and as long as you can get a good gunslinger there, I think this offense is really just going to pick up where it left off, even with the new offensive coordinator.
Now, with the new offensive coordinator, everybody's job is not necessarily set. I think that's the one takeaway for me is that there's an opportunity for everyone to be able to come in and prove themselves. But at the same time, this quarterback position, it's not set as well. You saw some good things out there, but nothing is truly set. We just got to see version 1 of what this Thundering Herd squad looks like, and we'll see version 2 later on. So there might be some guys that had great days we might not see again come fall.
Yeah, and well put, and there's no reason to believe that what we saw on Saturday was going to be by any means anything close to the final product. Cramsey's not pulling all of his tricks out of the hat quite yet. You didn't even see the Tyree Brady's, the Keon Davises, Tyler Kings even get out there yet. So, nothing is set in stone, like you said, and everybody's going to have to kind of like, everybody's kind of filling out an application again almost, right? I was the running back last year, but that doesn't mean that Tyler King is going to be getting the majority of the snaps this year. Keon Davis clearly wants, a big role in this too. So, that's just one position in particular, but across the board, the names are there. The talent is there, no doubt. It's just a matter of kind of buying into what Ramsey's selling, hopefully. And, it's not like it's a brand new coaching staff by any means. So, nobody's position is set, but the head man himself, Doc Holliday, is going to have a big say in that too. So, regardless of a new playbook per se, a bunch of these guys are still going to be doing the big things that we saw and kind of got accustomed to last year at the end of the season. But definitely, no doubt, it's a brand new process of trying to impress another guy. Now you got to impress the new offensive coordinator, and that's a big part into this of sealing back the spot that you played last year.
Did you get any feeling? I know it's a conservative playbook compared to what we'll see in the fall, but did you get any feeling that this is going to be a little bit more wide open offense? I know that's been a big criticism from fans over the past few years, that this playbook isn't wide open. It isn't really offense-minded. It was very conservative. What were your feelings going through practice and then this green-white scrimmage on that playbook, or at least the mentality of this offensive set that they're trying to put together?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, like you said, that has been something that the fans have kind of wanted the past couple of years, and the idea of a wide open offense. And I will say this about Coach Ramsey: you've seen he's been to a couple different places, and he played at New Hampshire, and that's where his real first coaching tenure started, was at New Hampshire. Well, of course, he plays there, and he goes up there, and he gets up there and meets a coach by the name of Chip Kelly. And so he kind of, 4 years goes by, he kind of goes off into the workforce, not really thinking about coaching, and then he kind of comes back, and after a year or two finds his way back up to New Hampshire, and now he's coaching underneath offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. So that's kind of where Ramsey's, start of his career really picks up, is under Chip Kelly. Now, Chip Kelly's offense, and if you ask anybody, he's got quite the coaching tree, and people will tell you, yeah, that's quite the wide open offense. And so hopefully Ramsey has kind of taken that same philosophy. That's kind of what he told us after the game is, it's not necessarily the same playbook. He's trying to bring, it's what he really took away from the Chip Kelly kind of coaches is it's a philosophy. It's about getting guys in the right spot at the right time. And, and even Doc Holliday said it, that's kind of one of the reasons Ramsey is now at Marshall. He saw on tape what some of these guys can do, and Ramsey's clearly very motivated and very excited to try and get some of these guys in those big spots down the field. So, I really do think that you'll see a wide open, expanded offense on the field, really putting some balls deep and trying to just let your guys, Tyree Brady's go up for it. The Obi Obialo's trying to go up for it. So, big question, will they all be able to pick it up? Will he be able to sell that playbook from year one and have everybody pick right up from where they were and where he was at Sam Houston State, where he was putting up extraordinary, explosive numbers? Well, that's to be seen. But on paper and from what I've seen in the offseason through spring and obviously in the spring game, hey, man, the first play in the scrimmage was, a bomb down the sideline to Marcel Williams. So, the opportunity's there. I think the mindset is there. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons Ramsey is here, is to help build that explosion and, like you said, widen up the offense. And I think he will do that.
CJ Harvey, our guest from Channel 8. So, CJ, you've seen practice. You're at the green-white scrimmage. In your mind, over these last few weeks and even the game on Saturday, who won the spring for you?
That's a tough question. That's something I haven't even really thought about. I don't think it was necessarily who won the spring. It was just how well did you do? How much better did you get in the spring, I guess. Everybody wants to talk about, the defense from last year really kind of held that team together down the stretch, and maybe it's the offense hopefully holding, kind of keeping the wheel moving this year. But, from what I've seen, I think it just proves that there is some competition in the quarterback spot. I don't think that this is a wide – everybody wants to talk about this Alex Thompson kid. I no credit away from him. I haven't seen him play, but you've heard the coaches talk about him and rave about him. But I don't think this is – it's not sold. I think who won were the quarterbacks. I think that they kind of won in the sense that they are going to force some competition come fall camp, and I think that is clearly, what is the big takeaway is that this is not set. Nothing is set in stone, kind of like you said, but there is going to be some competition come week 1 of fall camp and on the offensive side, and I think that's good, and I think that can only make them better. And on the defensive side, we talked to Chase Hancock for a few minutes there after the game, and he was saying, yeah, this is kind of, the defense played so well last year, but this is kind of keeping us awake and keeping us on our feet because this is a new offense, new system. We've got to kind of adapt to what they're doing in a different way, and it's only making us better. So I think with a new offense, it's only testing a already strong defense, and, a new offense is obviously kind of keeping some of the offensive guys on their toes, knowing that some of those jobs are open for anybody. And it's just a matter of time of getting through the summer and getting into the fall camp finally.
CJ Harvey, our guest from WCHS-TV 8. So if you really can't put your hands on, all right, who won the spring, where were there maybe deficiencies, or where would you say, all right, there's some things here that really need to improve between now and the first game? Can you put your finger on any of that?
Yeah, I didn't think we saw anything in the spring game. Nobody really busted off any, major running plays. Obviously, you didn't see the Keon and Tyler King in there, but that's kind of maybe the piece that needs to make sure that is going, in some of these offenses like, the Chip Kellys and the Dana Holgersons, the air raids and the high-flying, potent offenses. You see the guns blazing down the field, but what really keeps them moving is when you can open the run game. And I think that's kind of what I've picked out from this time of maybe something that isn't there, but something that they need to make sure is present and very active. Is, you got to make sure that the run game is open. That offensive line, very sturdy, hasn't changed much from a year ago. Same for the running back group. But that is, what will really put this offense over the top is being able to get those guys very active and, closing the box, tightening the box for the defense, and being able to spread out and go deep to Tyree Brady 50 yards down the field. So if I had to pick out something to keep an eye on, that just to make sure that the gear is moving, definitely the running back group.
Joining us on the program, CJ Harvey from WCHS-TV 8. All right, I'm going to change gears on you a little bit. After the green-white game, we still had a little NFL draft action going on. No one from the Thunder drafted, but after it was all said and done, there were a few people who found homes, or at least some tryout opportunities with teams, including most notably one Chase Litton, and he found a opportunity with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll start there. I didn't think he would get drafted. I felt that it came out a little too early, but he still now has the opportunity to make it with an NFL team, and that's definitely a step better than a lot of people who came out for the draft and found no home.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you're an undrafted free agent, the thing that kind of plays in your hand is, well, you get to pick where you want to go almost, as long as there are a few teams offering you, positions. And so I thought it was pretty interesting that he signed up to go out to Kansas City. Signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, and so they've moved on from the Alex Smith era, and they've gone in kind of to what you would expect is the Patrick Mahomes era. And so I thought that was interesting because Chase is going into a situation where you've got the young gun that is supposed to be the franchise to be, and you've got some older guys in the room that are planning on being the second, third string guys, and Chad Henne and Matt McGloin. So, I thought that was a very interesting, unique setup for Litton to find himself into, but, not exactly the easiest roster to crack as a quarterback, on paper, at least in my opinion. But, you've got some vets there to take away from, and maybe it's good that he's young. You've got a young guy in front that has some NFL time, and he can kind of connect to Chase Litton in a different way that some of the older guys in the room can, and vice versa, some of the older guys can pass along some wisdom to Chase. So you hope that he made the right choice, or you hope that going out to Kansas City is the right choice, but still very kind of mind-boggling to me, thinking, well, you're not going to a situation, you're not sitting behind a long-term quarterback that's been there for a while, but, you're kind of sitting behind a guy that's fresh, who's ready to hop onto the starting spot, hop into the starting spot. So, I thought that was unique and interesting, but best of luck, obviously. You want the Herd alum, or the Herd former players to do as well as possible and promote Marshall in the NFL, and hopefully he can do that.
You think he would have served himself better by staying at Marshall and instead of just putting himself out there this season, waited a year, built a little bit more of a resume for him, or is now as any a good time for a quarterback, especially a Chase Litton?
Well, I think originally the idea for him going into the draft, you think about it, there were five or six really good quarterbacks that were going to be taken very early. You knew that 3 or 4 were going to be taken in the first top 10. Then you saw Lamar Jackson go in the first round and Mason Rudolph. But then it was kind of like after Mason Rudolph, kind of just like wide open. You had a bunch of different names from a bunch of different schools. And I think the idea was that, between rounds 2, to the end of the draft, somebody's got to take some quarterbacks, right? Well, why not? Maybe you chased Litton, and I think that kind of fell apart. I think you saw that kind of fall apart and kind of fall flat in his face almost, like, well, there really weren't as many quarterbacks after those guys taken as people might have thought. And so, I think that kind of caught him off guard, that not a lot of people went after Mason Rudolph. And, I think you kind of saw it with maybe an Aidin Penava too, in the sense that, well, once you start talking to these guys, they kind of get you fired up to go and make some money. And I think that might have been Chase Litton's case. I think, you get some guys in your ear talking to you about, hey, you've got the intangibles, you've got the size, you've played long enough that somebody will give you a shot. It's just a matter of whether you think staying another year in college is going to give you an even better shot. So, in my opinion, Paul, I think there was no question Chase should have stayed. I think you were seeing what could have been right now. You would have had a new offensive coordinator, yes, but you probably would not have any quarterback competition coming in. It would be Chase's team in year 2 with Tyree Brady and in year 2 with Tyler King. That's what people were excited about. Post-New Mexico Bowl, I think more fans were excited about the next season than the ending of last season. And one of those major reasons why was Chase Litton. He's coming back. Well, not so much. I think it was a bit of a disappointment, and, to see Chase Litton go, obviously, just for how well things turned out. But, when the money comes a-calling, hey, sometimes you got to chase the dollar signs, right?
CJ Harvey, our guest from WCHS-TV 8. A few other guys that at least have landed so far in the short term with teams. And of course, you've got on the special team side, probably maybe the guy's got the toughest job here staying, just because the team he's going to go to has really good special teams, is Carr Vedvik. He goes to the Baltimore Ravens. They've got a really good group there, so he's definitely going to earn his way. Also, on the defensive side, you've got defensive end Devon Durant. He, of course, signing with the Washington Redskins, and C.J. Rivas signs with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, you've got a few guys that at least have landed with teams early, and maybe some more tryout opportunities will come for a few more guys, including a Ryan Juracek, who's trying to figure out his options right now. But of the guys who were signed and at least made teams for tryout opportunities, who do you think has the best chance of sticking, and who maybe has the long shot here of staying with their team that they've signed with?
of those guys, all of those guys at the end of the year were really coming on. You saw Durant, the wild scouts at the Pro Day, off the chart in terms of his athleticism, and he got better and better. 17 tackles and a forced fumble in just the final games, 5 games of the season last year. So I think he kind of wowed people there at the end. TJ Reeves is going to a team with a stacked group of defensive backs, a defense that really made its way to the AFC Championship a year ago. So both of those, I think, are great positions. But you talk about Corey Vedvik and, like you said, great special teams. And I kind of relate it to a situation that happened a few years ago for one Pat McAfee. Remember, he kind of did the same thing at WVU. All, his final years, he was doing everything, kicking, punting, and obviously kickoffs. And so, and look at what he did. He kind of went to the Colts, sat behind one of the greatest kickers of all time, Adam Vinatieri, and primarily became the punt specialist. He was that guy, some kickoffs. So, I would imagine that is probably the role Vedvik will fall into is, you put on the tape, hey, he boomed a 92-yard punt. Remember that? So I think that kind of still sticks out for some people. So, he's sitting behind a Justin Tucker's, obviously kicking the field goals, but, I think Vedvik has, can wiggle his way into the kickoffs and punting positions. So, I think of everyone taken and who found a team, I think Vedvik by far has the best shot of being the long-term guy, no doubt about it.
As you go through this draft and you look at guys that are still out there, any disappointments, anybody you're thinking, man, maybe they should have got an option or an opportunity, or, it's still too early to tell if there's anybody out there that's really sitting there waiting for that opportunity that's going to get theirs?
Well, I thought you saw, of the two needs that you really saw in this draft, I thought offensive lineman and defensive lineman. And, Marshall had one really, pretty good offensive lineman in Stanley Jean Felix there at the end of the year. He was really, playing pretty well. And you saw 5-6 offensive linemen go in the first round of the draft. So that is a major need at this moment. And, he's still sitting at home as far as I know. And, I think that's one that is kind of waiting, biding his time. Hopefully he gets an opportunity. I think that's one of those guys that really would take hold of a spot if he was given the opportunity, just for, what I know about him from his time at Marshall. And that is such an important position, obviously, on the O-line, but a position that seems like everybody at the moment could, use a little help on. You just saw it in this draft, how many offensive linemen went in particular this year. So that is clearly a need going around the NFL, and, hopefully he gets an opportunity. But, and same for Ryan Yurchek. I think it comes down, does Ryan want to play? Does Yurchek want to play in the NFL? Of course, everybody wants to play, but Yurchek, he could go off and do just as well as, in the workforce. Obviously his dad has quite the resume now as the athletic director down in Arkansas. So, you hope that he kind of finds his spot in the NFL if he wants to do so. Otherwise, I think Ryan Yurchek will be just fine. But I think kind of for him, it comes down to the question, do you really, really want to play in the NFL? And if he does, boy, watch out, because that guy is one of the hardest working kids you and I have probably ever seen on any team before. So, but, in general, best of luck to them all. And those two in particular are the two that are standing out still, saying, hey, give me a shot. Give me one shot. So,
CJ Harvey, our guest from Channel 8, WCHS-TV 8. So, now that you've usurped Mark Martin as the lead sports analyst for the program from Channel 8, how's it feel?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, Paul, it's pretty good. So I know you and I have gotten to know each other pretty well over the past year since I started working with Mark, and so down at WCHS. So it's refreshing to talk to you over the phone and on the radio.
You mean it's refreshing that I'm not abusing you?
Exactly. It's refreshing that you're not trying to pick on me and trying to, bump me out of the way. When it comes to drums, you were quite the aggressive guy. You're telling me to, you're shoving me out of the way to get up to get some of these guys. So, hey, dog eat dog world, Paul. I get it. I understand.
Hey, let me help you out here in your young media career. Here is you have a huge camera and it hurts if you bang it on somebody. So, if you want to get your position, you have to go out and just bang it.
I guess that camera scares the people, though. You got to be careful. You got to be careful with it. But I don't know, Paul. You better walk out.
I learned the hard way.
Better walk out now.
I learned the hard way one time. I was a student over at the mighty Marshall University, and I was getting footage of the Surgeon General in town here, and of course I was getting banged around by cameramen because they wanted to get their shot. Never again. No, that never.
That was the day you put the camera down. That when you realized you didn't want to touch the camera.
Look, you're just gonna have to go out there and crush somebody.
Crush guy.
You're just gonna have to go out there and you're just gonna have to crush somebody. Plain and simple.
Well, thankfully, some of these guys are nice enough to take their time and let us ask questions as need be. But I will say, some of those dock scrums, it gets pretty dirty down there. You don't, everything above the waist you don't see, but it's the kicking and the low shots that really get you. So
yeah,
you gotta watch yourself.
It's pretty vicious, and then you got Keith Morehouse from Channel 3 just holding everybody's microphone, just being nice.
Keith has saved us all a couple of times. Told me, when sometimes we find ourselves in the spot of being by ourselves, and so he tries and helps out, obviously. But that's one thing that you kind of learn being in this. It's best to have a friend, even if they're called the competition, than it is to have a foe. Because one day you're going to be asking for their help. So I know I've learned that, and in my short time here, but I know that everybody around here covering Marshall athletics is, if you cover Marshall, it almost seems like you're at a standard, and you have to hold yourself to a certain standard in terms of working with others, even if they don't necessarily work with you. So, but I've enjoyed my time, and so far so good. Paul, you're the only one that I just can't seem to get along with.
No, that's not true. That's absolutely
That's not true at all.
That's not true at all.
That's not true at all.
That's not true. You take that back right now.
I take it back. Well, whose radio show am I on right now? So let's be careful.
Exactly
be
here.
Careful with what we say.
CJ Harvey joining us on WCHS-TV 8. We'll have you back on soon, and if you're in Huntington on a Monday from now on, we'll just have you come down here to the Union Pub and Grill. We'll do that in person from now on.
Sounds like a plan, Paul. Sounds like a plan.
Good deal. Good talking to you. I hope you enjoyed your first appearance on the show, and now you can make Mark Martin jealous.
I know. I have to go back. And tell him that you and I had a grand old time. So he'll start reaching out to you for more opportunities now. So
and so he should. And think of it this way. Yeah, you've got more appearances in 2018 than Kenny Bass. So you're running up on him.
Oh wow! Well, Kenny's too busy. Everybody wants to talk. We got this brand new billboard just outside of Charleston. You're driving in on the highway, and everybody keeps saying that it looks like we're a law firm now. Kenny Bass is front and center there. So he's pretty busy with cracking down on the news side of things. So he if you can ever drag him back to a Marshall practice or a Marshall game, I'm sure he would love to talk about it too. So
good deal. We'll work on that. Well, give my best to the folks at Channel 8, and we will talk to you soon.
Definitely. Always a pleasure, Paul.
That's CJ Harvey, Channel 8, WCHS-TV 8. We're going to take our next break, come back. We've got some more sound from the Green-White scrimmage on Saturday. We'll get your phone calls in as well. This is The Drive coming to you live from the Union Pub and Grill here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're coming to you today from the Union Pub and Grill, 1125 4th Avenue in Huntington. The Monday special, always. It's $1.50 models, $2 call shots. You got to get down here. It's the Monday special. All the big screens on whatever sports you want to watch, always at the Union Pub. We're putting basically a bow, wrapping it up, and being done with the green-white scrimmage. But before we can do that, we've got a few pieces of audio we want to get to, some reaction from after the game. And you heard earlier from Doc Holliday. Let's now hear from the new offensive coordinator, Tim Cramsey. Let's get his thoughts on what happened and, of course, the practices in general. Here's Tim Cramsey.
Coach, well, first spring game down. What thoughts on how things are going so far?
This is the culmination of practice that we had, and I think our goal going into spring was to earn each other's trust as a new coaching staff together and a new team offense together, and I think that was accomplished, number one. And number two, we wanted to get the mistakes we made in practice one, we wanted to fix in practice two all the way through, and I think that happened. Obviously, the game of football is never going to be perfect on the offensive side, but when we go back and watch the film, I think we're going to see some things today that we liked across the board, and we've seen that from the spring. Where we were 15 practices ago is a long way from where we are now.
How do you, when you see those good things in the bad, how do you kind of get that message across to some of these guys? Like, hey, keep doing this, or maybe shift your thinking here.
Well, that's why I still have a job. So new mistakes happen all the time, and that's our big thing. It'd be a big issue if the mistakes that happened today were the same mistakes that happened in practice 4, 5, and 6, which wasn't the case. So every single day something new is going to come up, and we got to make sure that gets fixed. So right now the mistakes that were made today got to get fixed in the summertime, and our mentality is not practice 1 in the fall. Our mentality is that's practice 16 together and to continue getting ready for Miami, Ohio.
And when you look at what's going to happen with the quarterbacks in the fall, it's going to be a nice competition. I know everybody's looking forward to what's going to happen.
It's going to be a great competition, and competition in general makes teams better. Quarterback competitions definitely make teams better. So it's going to be a tough decision for Coach and myself, but when most likely within a week or two in the fall camp, the guy who's going to be the guy is going to be, everyone's going to know it by the time we make that decision.
Isaiah's young, and it's just a spring game, but he showed some poise out there.
Isaiah has a lot of things going for him, and poise is one of them. The game is easy for him. The game slows down for him. Things just make sense for him, and he looks very poised every time he's out there and has been making really good decisions. He's done a great job, as well as the other two guys that went this spring, of doing exactly what I was just saying, as far as, a mistake happens once and it doesn't happen again. And that's what we saw from Isaiah, Garrett, and Jackson this whole spring long.
All right, that's the offensive coordinator, Tim Cramsey, his thoughts after the green-white game. And up next, had a chance to talk to Chase Hancock. This is his final go-around. Final green-white scrimmage. Everything's going to be a final for him. And caught up with him after the game. Also, C.J. Harvey was hanging out with me as well. So here's our conversation with Chase Hancock after the green-white game.
So how'd it feel getting this day over with?
I'm not looking forward to it. I'm a senior, so this is my last one. But I am looking forward to this season and what we can bring to the table.
What do you think you accomplished out here? This phase now is over. How do you feel about what you got done?
So making some adjustments, getting used to some of the new coaches, and so I think that's what we needed, and this kind of helped work out the kinks, and I think we're going to be fine.
Is this a new offense? They probably haven't laid out everything yet, but what do you think about it?
I think yes, and I knew that was going to happen. I predicted that would happen. And I'm glad because, we need to be challenged in every way possible. And so I'm really proud of all of us and, how we've responded. And like I said, we've got to work out some kinks. But, that's what the spring is for, make those adjustments and going into the fall. And we'll be right. We'll be just fine.
You talk about being your final spring. It's been a long journey for you. How's that? From the days of Woodrow?
Looking back on it, it's really flown by. But, in the midst of it all, it seemed like it was, taking forever. It was so slow. But, I wouldn't change a thing, and I'm just blessed to be where I am.
Especially, you get out of high school, come here, and you really don't know what the future held, did you?
No, I had no idea. I was walking on faith. I came here as a walk-on, played my year and a half, 2 years, earned a scholarship, and, the rest is just history. I just want to thank my coaches, my teammates, my mentors, all the fans, everybody. I couldn't have done it without them. To say that I got here by myself would be wrong of me, so.
You mentioned earlier trying to get adjusted to new coaches. Did you find that a lot of the new guys and the veterans had a little bit more step, knowing that, all right, we're all back to the same spot now? New coaches, everybody's position pretty much is up for grabs just about.
Yeah, and it's like that every year, your position's not set in stone, and anybody at any time can take it. And so with the new coaches, it wasn't that big of an adjustment really, which is really good. So
talk about being this stout defense this year, and really what better obstacle to kind of get over. Again, you guys have done so well to this point to try and go after a new offense and a new group of offensive players each and every day, right?
Yeah. That's, I mean, we want to challenge each other. Continue to be the team that we know that we can be. Because potential gets you beat, and if you don't reach that potential, then you're doing this all for nothing. So, chip on our shoulder, and we just want to improve and get better. Last year's over and done with. What can we do to push forward and do better?
All right, Chase, after the green-white game, and before we get a break, I got one more I want to get to. Isaiah Green, he had a lot to be happy about during the green-white game. Also, of course, throughout the practices leading up to the green-white game. So here's Isaiah Green after his performance on Saturday.
I know you've been waiting for this moment. You look pretty good out there. What are your thoughts?
I just thought I did everything I was supposed to do. Stayed within my game, stayed within the offense, made all my reads correctly. So I felt like I just did my job today.
Doc says he thinks that the game slows down for you. Is that the way you're starting to feel it now?
Yes, sir. I've been here for about a year now, so I kind of got used to the speed now. I'm more comfortable in what I'm doing and knowing what I'm doing, so it slows the game down for me a lot.
It's a lot about letting those offensive weapons you have go to work and getting them the ball. Is that your mindset?
Yeah, that's the offensive mindset, period. Get the ball into our playmakers' hand and let them do what they need to do.
Hey, second straight week, you all started quickly whenever you've been out there. What is it about you starting quickly that you've really been able to turn around from that first scrimmage you all have had?
I just staying in the offense. I made my read. He popped open. I hit him. It's that simple.
How fun is it to deal with these receivers, though? I mean, there's a lot of talent.
Yeah, we got some playmakers out there. It's nice to know you can just give somebody a 5-yard throw and they might turn into 80 at any moment.
How much does that help a quarterback that's trying to get his feet into the system and get more meaningful reps, knowing you all can put it anywhere and Tyree and those guys can go get it?
It helps a lot because, like I said, you just give them the ball right now. They experience, they know what to do with it, so they take over from that point.
What's your mindset going into fall camp? There's going to be some competition, and
yes, sir.
You embrace that, right?
Yes, sir. I love competition. Competition is good for everybody.
Competition is good for everybody. That's Isaiah Green. I think he's going to like the competition come fall. We're going to take our final break, come back, and we'll wrap it up here from the Union Pub and Grill. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Plenty of time for you to come down to the Union Pub and Grill, 1125 4th Avenue, Huntington, because all day and all night, the Monday special, now until forever, will be $1.50 bottles, $2 call shots. Okay, I don't know if it'll be this way forever, so that makes it even more important to come down now on this Monday, because you never know. It could not be this way in the future. I doubt that, but it's still $1.50 bottles, $2 call shots here at the Union Pub and Grill, 1125 4th Avenue in Huntington. Welcome back. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann, and it's been a fun show. Wrapping up what happened on Saturday with Marshall. Of course, tomorrow we'll be right back at it from the studio, and looking forward to the week ahead. Of course, now the draft day is over, and we start breaking down what teams are accomplishing, what they hope to do. I'm hoping that there's some positive news for the Cincinnati Bengals, my favorite NFL team. And, of course, we've got a lot of hockey playoff action to still get into. Things are heating up. NBA as well. Cavaliers win, so they're moving on to the second round. We'll have most of those games on Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. And we got Pirates baseball coming up tonight, and that's going to start at 6:40 right here. So we're looking forward to that. So we got a lot to get into the week ahead. So we invite you to come back tomorrow and join us for the show then, and we'll get you set for the rest of your week. But I want to thank the folks here at the Union Pub and Grill, always taking good care of us here. Don't forget, the Union Pub and Grill is basically where you want to come. You want to catch all the sporting events that you like to watch and hang out with people you know. Well, here it is, the Union Pub and Grill, 1125 4th Avenue in Huntington, where you can watch everything you possibly want to watch. And if, say, you want to watch it tonight, again, the Monday special, best in the tri-state, $1.50 bottles, $2 call shots. That's going to do it for this edition of The Drive. For our producer, Gabriel Sellards, I'm Paul Swann. Thanks for listening. Back tomorrow to do it all over again right here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Good night, everyone.
Huntington, W227BS Huntington, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Huntington Sports Station.